Everybody can have a seat. Sorry for the delay. Welcome back. Happy Tuesday. Did the jury follow the admonition during the break?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. We are still in the Commonwealth's case in chief. Commonwealth's next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth calls John Robertson to the stand.
John Robertson. Mr. Robertson, if you'll come up to the witness stand, I'm going to place you under oath before you have a seat. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be truthful? Thank you. Have a seat. Be comfortable. I encourage you to sit up close to the microphone. It's adjustable for your height. Keep your voice up good and loud so we can all hear your testimony.
Sir, can you please state your name for the record?
John Michael Robertson.
And, sir, do you know the defendant?
Yes.
How do you know him?
Family.
Okay. And family through whom?
My girlfriend Cassie out here.
Okay. Where in town do you live?
Jefferson County.
And on
Vim
what
Drive.
street? I'm sorry?
Vim Drive.
Okay. Make sure that you are speaking into the microphone, okay? And I would like to ask you about a series of events. Did you know Trey Zwicker?
Yes.
How did you know Trey?
Through Josh Gowker.
And did you know Trey's mother?
Yes.
Who was that?
Amanda.
I would like you to draw your attention to the night before Trey Zwicker was found dead.
Yes.
Did you go to a cookout that night?
Yes.
Where did you go to a cookout?
At Amanda Campbell's.
And where did she live in relation to where you live?
2 houses down.
And this is on Bim Drive?
Yes.
Do you remember who was at the cookout?
Trey was there. Amanda, Josh Gowker, Josh Young. I think Amanda's brother, Cassie Gowker, and a couple of his friends, Josh Young's friends.
Okay. Do you and Cassie have any kids?
Yes.
Were your all's kids there?
Yes.
How old are your kids?
12 and 9.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about what you did while you were at the cookout?
I played basketball with Trey Zwicker and Josh Young at the cookout.
Okay. Did you, was there something about a turtle?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury about the turtle?
The kids found the turtle down by the ditch.
And when you say down by the ditch, where are you talking?
Down by the school,
What school?
Liberty.
How far is that from the house where you were having the cookout? The ditch?
Down by my house.
Okay. Is it correct to say it's behind your house?
Yes.
Okay. And then you go towards the school?
Yes.
Okay. Were you with the kids when they caught the turtle, or did you see the turtle? Tell them a little bit about that.
The kids found the turtle, and I went down and got it out of the ditch.
Okay. What'd you do with the turtle?
We played with the turtle for a while.
Okay. Were you drinking while you were at the cookout?
Yes.
Do you know what time you left?
Around 7:30, 8.
Okay. And was it light out still or dark out?
Still light.
When you left, did you leave alone, or did anyone go with you?
I don't remember. I'm sure I left alone.
Okay, but you don't remember specifically?
No, ma'am.
Okay. What'd you do when you left?
I went home to watch a movie.
Okay. Do you remember what you watched?
The Warriors.
Did you see anyone else? Who lives in your house? Let's do that.
Me, Cassie, and my 2 kids.
Okay. Was anyone else staying at your house?
Josh Young would stay sometimes at my house and then at Amanda's house.
Okay. And what about Josh Gowker?
Yes, off and on.
Off and on. Okay. So did you see anyone else come home that night?
No.
Do you know, did you go to bed before they came home, or do you not remember?
No, the kids came home later
Okay.
with her, and we watched the movie together.
Okay, so that they were with you when you all watched the movie.
Yes.
So who was there when you watched the movie?
My kids, Cassie, and I believe Josh Young.
Okay. Do you remember when you went to bed that night?
Around 10:30,
Okay. Do you remember where you went to bed that night?
upstairs.
Okay. Did anything wake you up during the night?
No, ma'am.
Do you know how much you had to drink that day or night at the cookout and at home?
No, ma'am.
You don't know?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember if you were intoxicated or sober?
Intoxicated.
Intoxicated, okay. And did you smoke any weed, or was it just drinking?
Just drinking.
When did you find out that Trey Zwicker was dead?
The next morning,
Okay. And how did you find out?
Josh Gowker told me.
Do you know when?
It's around 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Okay. And what did you do next, if anything?
I went to work.
Okay. Where did you work at the time?
Kroger's.
Do you still work there?
No, ma'am.
At some point, did you and Josh Young have a discussion about Trey's murder?
Yes.
When was that?
I don't recall the exact date.
Okay. Was it the same day that you found out?
No.
Was it close in time to when you found out?
Yes.
What did Josh Young tell you about the murder?
He told me that him and Trey went down to the ditch to smoke some weed. He asked him what time it was, and then he hit him with the bat.
Where were you when Josh Young told you this?
In my house.
At some point, about a month and a half after the murder, did you receive a call from Josh Gowker and Detective Russ in Alabama?
Yes.
And did you tell them the information that you just told the jury?
Yes.
Do you know anything about the bat that Josh Young said he used to kill Trey?
That was my bat
How do you know that?
because it was gone. I was asking Cassie, where's my bat? And she finally told me.
Did Josh Young ever tell you what happened to the bat?
No.
Did Josh Young ever tell you what he did after the murder?
He said that he took his clothes off and ran through the neighborhood and threw them with the weapon, and then went and took a shower.
Now, the police spoke to you before that June phone call from Alabama.
Yes.
Did you tell them the truth before that phone call?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I didn't believe Josh Young had did it.
I couldn't hear what you
I
said.
didn't believe Josh Young had did it.
Okay. So you lied to the police?
Yes, ma'am.
When you spoke with Detective Russ and Josh Gowker on the phone from Alabama, did you tell them the truth right away?
Yes.
You were telling them the truth right away, or did you deny knowing anything at first?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you not remember?
I don't remember.
Do you, are you currently on diversion?
Yes.
Do you know what that means?
Yes, ma'am.
What does that mean to you?
I have to stay clean for 5 years.
Okay. Is that because you were arrested and charged with a felony?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it, if you know, was it my office that prosecuted you?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Have there been any deals made in order for you to testify here today?
No, ma'am.
Do you have, I want to ask you about the bat. You said it was your bat. Can you explain to the jury what bat it was?
It was a bat that I picked up at a yard sale. It was a Global Slugger that they stopped making in 1980.
And was anything special about it to you? How do you know that that bat is the bat that he used, or that it's gone?
It was in my house, and then all of a sudden it was gone.
And was that a wooden or a metal bat?
A wooden bat.
Do you remember the last time you saw the bat?
No, ma'am.
Did you look for the bat after Josh Young told you that he had used it to kill Trey?
Yes.
And could you find it then?
No.
That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Mr. Robertson, you testified that you were drunk on May 10th, 2011.
Yes, ma'am.
Refresh my recollection. To what degree? You don't remember a lot of things, correct?
Yes.
From that night? Okay. But you do remember some stuff?
Yes.
Quite a bit, actually. You remember what movie you were watching when you went back down to Cassie's in your house, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was Warriors?
The Warriors.
Was it on cable?
No, DVD.
It was on a DVD?
Yes.
What device did you play that on?
I think an Xbox or PlayStation.
Okay. You indicated there were kids at this cookout. What kids were at the cookout?
My kids, Amanda's kids, and the neighborhood kids.
Who were the neighborhood kids?
I don't recall their names.
Okay. How many kids total were there?
At least 5 or 6.
At least 5 or 6? Okay,
Yes.
so you have 2 kids, right?
Mhm.
And you've indicated that Joshua Young was there.
Yes.
You indicated Trace Wicker was there. And was there any other kids?
Mackenzie
Okay.
and 2 or 3 other boys. I can't remember their names.
Okay. Not even a guess?
I think one might have been Wade.
Okay. The kids that you're talking about that found the turtle, who were they?
The same kids.
The same kids,
Yes.
but you just know one of them might have been named Wade?
Yes.
Okay. How were you notified that there was a turtle down there by the ditch?
Someone called, I think it was Joshua Gowker's phone, and told him that they had,
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
told him that he found a turtle.
Okay, someone who
One
was
of the kids in the neighborhood.
a neighborhood kid
Yes.
would have had his phone number, right?
Yes.
And called his phone. He answers his phone, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and I take it that you're with him, right?
Yes.
And where were you?
We was at the cookout at the time.
Okay. At that point, what? You learned from him that it's down there,
Yes.
and the 2 of you run down there,
All of us.
all of us.
All the kids. And Josh Gowker.
Now I'm just trying to be clear, I'm not trying to confuse you. The kids, I thought, were down at the ditch already, because they found it.
There was only a couple of kids down there.
Okay, what kids were down there then?
I'm not sure their names.
One of them had to have had a phone because they called Josh Gowker, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You think it was a neighborhood kid would be to the exclusion of your kids and all the kids that lived in either of these 2 houses. Is that fair?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Trace Wicker, it wouldn't be Joshua Young, it wouldn't be your 2 kids, right?
No, ma'am.
So it would have had to have been one of the couple of kids already down there was from the neighborhood, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't live in either home we've discussed at length, right?
Yes, ma'am.
1956, right?
Yes.
Or your house, 1360,
Yes.
right? And they had a phone contact with Josh Gapper.
Yes.
I presume that he did not tell you who called him.
No, ma'am.
You do not recall who left with you to go home from this cookout, right?
No.
Okay. But you do know who was in the home, your home, later on.
Yes.
You don't know when anybody got there? Is that...
No.
What time did you start watching Warriors?
Around 8:30, 9 o'clock.
8:30, 9 o'clock?
Yes.
And right when that movie ended, you went to bed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you sleep that night?
Upstairs.
You slept upstairs.
Yes.
Can you just give me the layout of the upstairs? Let's start with the upstairs. How many bedrooms are up there?
It's just one big bedroom.
One big bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. And was anyone else in that room when you went to bed?
Took me and my kids to bed.
So you and your kids slept upstairs in the one big bedroom.
Yes.
It also indicated that Cassie was there as well when the movie was on, at least, right?
Yes.
Where did she sleep?
I believe she came upstairs. I was already asleep.
Okay, in the one big bedroom.
Yes.
There's just one bed up there?
Yes, just one bed.
Okay. So the entire family slept upstairs that night?
That night,
Four
yes.
total people were up there. Side by side?
Yeah.
What size bed do you have up there?
I'm not sure the size of it. It's pretty big.
It's pretty big. So we're talking queen,
Yeah.
king,
Queen.
queen? Okay. And your kids, 2 years, or on that date, May 10th, 2011, were how old?
10 and 7. Or
Okay. Who were you next to in the bed?
my son.
You were next to your son. Were you on the edge? Were you?
I was on the edge.
Okay. Who was on the other side of your son?
My daughter,
And then who was on the other side of your daughter?
Cassie.
Okay. So parents on the outside, kids squished in the middle. Is that... Was the light on when you went to bed?
No, ma'am.
Do you ever remember the light coming on?
No, ma'am.
Are you a sound sleeper?
Yes.
Okay. Are you intimidated by Josh Gowker?
In a way, I was.
Okay. And this has changed because,
I want the truth to be told.
okay. And the morning after, let me back up for a minute. Did you know anything about anybody dying until Josh Gowker talked to you that morning?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And I suppose he just strikes up a conversation about this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Bragging?
Not bragging.
Okay. He told you that Trey was dead, correct?
Yes.
Is that all he told you?
He told me that Joshua Young had done it.
He told you that Joshua Young had done it.
Yes.
Is that all he told you?
Yes, ma'am.
You, at some point, were made aware that there was a more than familial relationship between Cassie and Gowker, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That they had a sexual relationship, correct?
Yes.
Which is not possible at this time because he's incarcerated, right?
Yes.
You were aware of that during this time in question, May 10th, all through that summer, right?
But I wasn't aware the whole time.
You weren't aware of it the whole time?
No.
Okay. When did you learn anything about that?
It must have been a couple months after that
A couple of
incident.
months after that, after he was incarcerated?
Yes.
As of the date you were called from Alabama?
Yes.
You knew on the date you were called from Alabama?
Well, I'm not specific.
You don't know?
No.
The turtle that was a big turtle, right? That's why, somebody called Gowker correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I have the attorneys up here, please?
Do you recall what time it was when you learned there was a turtle down at the ditch?
I'm not really sure.
Okay. And when you went home, it was still daylight, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're home, you go to the cookout. What time was it?
I'm not sure because they was getting ready all day long for the cookout.
They were getting ready all day. Now, when you say they, I don't know who you're talking about.
Josh Gallagher and Amanda Campbell getting stuff from the store.
Okay. So you didn't have to work that day?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you go to the store with them, or
Don't remember.
you were aware that they were getting ready to have a cookout, so you saw them that day, right?
Yes.
Talked to them?
Yes.
You don't know what time it was that you learned there was a turtle down there?
I'm not really sure.
How long were you at the ditch?
No more than 10 minutes.
Okay. So how long did it take you to get back? Where did you go from the ditch?
To my house.
To your house.
Yes.
Did you return at any point to 1356?
No, I don't think so.
You indicated that at some point, you're not sure of the day, that you got more information from Cassie and then from Joshua Young, right?
Yes.
Who did you get information from first? In what order?
I don't recall who told me first.
Do you play baseball? Do you play ball?
Yes.
When you realized that your bat was gone, is that your bat that you always play with? Or you
No,
have a
ma'am.
different one?
I had a different one.
Okay. What length is that bat?
The Lewis Slugger,
Mm-hmm.
the original size,
Okay.
regulation size.
What is, and just for the jury, how long are regulation size 1980 issued Lewis Slugger wooden bats?
The same as today. I'm not specific on the length of them.
Okay. What about diameter?
It's about this big around.
Okay. How heavy is it?
Not very heavy.
Okay. Did you still play with the bat? I know you said that's not the one that you always play with, or...
No, ma'am.
Regarding your being on diversion, Judge, may we approach?
Yes.
The reason that you are on diversion is because yourself and Joshua Gallagher broke into Amanda's house, right?
Yes.
And that happened after she was no longer living there, right?
Yes.
You were aware you weren't supposed to be in there, right?
Yes.
And this was because he told you to do it with him.
Yes.
You guys cleaned her house out, am I right?
No, ma'am.
The two of you took a whole lot of property out of there. Is that fair?
No.
Was your garage filled with her property?
There was only 3 or 4 boxes in my garage.
There was a wheelbarrow, wasn't there?
That was outside the garage.
That was hers though, wasn't it?
Yes.
Were you hauling property down with the wheelbarrow?
No, ma'am.
Just pushed it down there empty?
Yes.
And you've already testified that you remember getting a phone call that summer in June, right? And this was from a detective and from Joshua Gowker, correct?
Yes.
And Cassie handed you the phone saying that Josh wanted to talk to you.
Yes.
You knew that meant Josh Gowker.
Yes.
And you don't remember the exact day.
No, ma'am.
Was it nighttime or daytime?
Nighttime.
What were you doing when you were told that he wanted to speak with you?
I was sleeping.
Right. Judge, I would move to play that phone call.
Okay, permitted.
What did he ask you? What did he ask you? What did you tell him? Oh, what did you tell him out of his neck? Oh, what did you tell him? Alright, go wake up John. I want to talk to John. Don't hey, listen to me, huh? Cassie. Hey, Cassie. Just tell him that Big Josh is here sitting at the table. Detective Ross is here. Don't tell him anything about, I want it to go straight for him out. I don't want you to say, tell him this, or I don't want to know. Just put him on the phone, and we'll let Josh talk to him for a minute, and let him know it's okay to talk to us. Don't tell him anything about anything. I just want him to tell me straight from his mouth. Still. Homicide detectives here, they went to see about Josh yesterday, they know everything. And just so you know, John, this is Detective Ross. I've talked to you before. You and your wife are not in any trouble for what you know, what you saw, what you heard. All you are is informational witnesses, okay? You're not in trouble for anything. I've talked to Josh, Big Josh, I've talked to Little Josh, I've talked to Cassie, I've talked to Ruby, I've talked to Angelique, I've talked to all these people, okay? So you're not in trouble. All I need you to tell me is what you know, what you heard, and everything's going to be fine. All you need to do is tell me everything. Straight. John. Hey, it's me, man. Just tell them the truth. You hear me? I'm telling you, to just tell the truth. Tell me about when you first knew. Tell me who killed Trey. Then we'll go from there. How you found out about it, who told you, and all that stuff. Big Josh told me. And what did he tell you? They told me Trey was dead. And who killed Trey? It's alright, man. Just tell them the truth. Oh, Josh. When did you first find out about it? So, tell me what Cassie told you. She told me that to make sure we're clear. Well, Big Josh told you the very next day? Or did Cassie tell you that's how you found out? Let me go outside. No, I don't want you to ask. I want you to tell me what you remember. If you don't remember. Outside. What's that? She said let me go outside. You said let me go outside? Let me go where I can get back. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said let me go last time. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, tell me when did you first find out, you just said a minute ago, you first found out from Big Josh the next day. Did you find out from Big Josh the next day or somebody else? Oh, Big Josh. Did little Josh talk to you about it? Well, did little Josh never said anything to you about he hit him, kicked him, punched him, shot him, anything? I mean, I don't know what little Josh told you about Trey being murdered. Just tell the truth, John. With what? A bat. With whose bat? My whole bat for the kid. How many times did he tell you he hit him? Hit me in the face and never stopped. Where was little Josh at when he told you this? In the house. When? How many days after Trey was found? When was it down that Wednesday afternoon? When did little Josh tell you that? A couple days after that. And when did Cassie tell you she drove him over to the dumpster? Okay, so when I was at your house and Detective Logan, I was talking to you, and you told me that you didn't want to come to the office and that you don't know really anything about anything. Was that the truth or that a lie? And why did you lie to us that day? I was scared. But what you're telling me now is the truth. Yeah. So little Josh told you he hit him with the bat, with your baseball bat that you had as a kid. Did he also tell you that him and Cassie went to the dumpster, or was it just Cassie that told you that? Well, they both told me. Did you ever see any bloody clothes or bloody bat? No, sir. Tell me about back in the Virginia Hotel when you were all over there. What was the conversation about that with Robbie and everybody else? So we were just hanging out. Right? So I'm talking about the conversation. Was there any conversation that you can remember about the Trey? If you don't remember, I don't want to put words in your mouth. If you don't remember, you don't remember. Because I know you do like to, I know you may just not remember, but do you remember at least anybody in the room talking about it at all? You don't remember anybody in the room talking about, since we all know, we can't tell the police. Was that an agreement that you remember all of you have, or do you not remember? I can't remember. After myself and Detective Stolz were at your house that day when you wouldn't come to the office, what did you and Cassie talk about? I don't remember, sir. I mean, well, obviously, immediately after we left, did she say, what did you tell them? Or did you say, hey, what did you tell them? I told her I didn't say anything. Is there anything else that you can think of that you need to tell me now before? Is there anything else that you can remember that you need to tell me now before we, in case we find something out later that I don't know right now? No. Okay, put Cassie back on the phone. Okay.
So let's be clear then. A moment ago, you stated that Joshua Young told you he committed this crime, correct?
Yes.
Ripped his clothes off, right? Ran through the neighborhood naked and disposed of the murder weapon, which was your bat.
Yes.
That you got at a yard sale, is that right?
Yes.
When you were a kid, or?
Yes, when I was younger.
And yet, I suppose that is the truth now. Is that the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
That he ran naked through the neighborhood and I am guessing never went anywhere with Cassie. Can we deduce that from everything you've said?
They told me 2 stories.
They told
He
you
told
to-
me-
Now, let's straighten out who they is, okay?
Well, Josh Young told me 2 stories.
He did.
He told me he ran through the neighborhood, and then he told me another story that hit him with the bat, and him and Cassie and him told me that they took it and dropped it off somewhere
They do that together or separately?
together.
Who said something first?
Cassie.
Did you tell Detective Rush you talked to Joshua Young about this twice?
No, ma'am.
Was your bedroom window up there open that
Yes.
night? Is it one of those, is it like a carriage house, kind of both ends of the upstairs have windows?
Yes.
Were they both open?
Yes.
Okay. And which window is the bed closest to?
The front of the house.
The front of the house?
Yes.
Do you guys park the van right there by the porch, like you just pull in so you can go right in the front, or do you go all the way to the back of the house? when you
She was
park?
pulling it to the back.
She pulls that to the back? Okay. At any point that night, did the kids wake up?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of, even if it's that crowded with 4 people in the bed? Queen-size bed, right? Was anybody sleeping against the wall, or is the bed out in the center of the room?
It's out in the center of the room.
Okay. If I was standing at the foot of the bed, who's on the left, who's on the right, far ends of the bed?
I was on the left, and Cassie was on the right.
Is the left side again where you were? Is that towards the door to the bedroom?
It's just a walk up upstairs.
So you walk up the steps and it's all open,
Yes.
right? Okay. Who is closest to the entrance to the upstairs, you or Cassie?
Cassie.
Okay. Do you drive?
No, ma'am.
You never drive?
No.
A moment ago, when you were discussing the statement that Joshua Young made to you, you stated that he said that he and Trey went down to smoke weed. He asked what time it was. Trey pulls the phone out and suddenly he's assaulting him, right?
Yes.
Have you heard that story before? Anywhere?
No, ma'am.
You haven't heard that anywhere?
Only from Joshua Young.
That's all I have, Judge.
Redirect.
No, sir.
Any questions from the jury? Okay. Questions? from the jury. I'll read the question if you'll let the jury have your answer. And this is a question. Gowker told you about the murder in the morning before the body was found?
Yes.
What did Gowker tell you about Trey's murder the morning after Trey was killed?
The only thing he told me that little Josh had killed Trey.
Did Gowker tell you who killed Trey?
Yes. Joshua Young.
Was Josh Young present when Gowker told you who killed Trey?
No.
The turtle was found in the ditch behind your house or the ditch by Liberty?
The ditch by Liberty, which is right by my house.
Where did Josh Young take a shower?
I believe he took a shower at my house.
Did Gowker ever tell you that he killed Trey?
No.
Were you ever afraid of Gowker?
Yes.
Where did Josh Young sleep when he stayed at your house?
In the downstairs bedroom.
Where did Gowker sleep when he stayed at your house?
And there was also another downstairs bedroom.
All right, any other questions? May we release this witness?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. You're free to go. Commonwealth's next witness.
The Commonwealth calls Dennis Embry to the stand.
Dennis Embry. Okay.
Paul Embry, I'm sorry,
Paul Embry.
not Dennis Embry. What's that detective? Yes.
Mr. Embry, I'm going to place you under oath. If you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be truthful? Thank you. Have a seat. Be comfortable. I encourage you to sit up close to the microphone. It's adjustable for your height. Keep your voice up good and loud so we can all hear your testimony.
Will you please state your name for the record?
Paul Embry.
And where are you currently living?
Within the DOC state facility.
You are currently incarcerated?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point, how long have you been incarcerated?
Right about close to 4.5 years now.
And during that 4.5-year stint, did you at some point, were you housed with Josh Gowker?
Yes, I was.
And did Josh Gowker talk to you about the murder of Trey Zwicker
Yes, he did, in a roundabout way.
in a roundabout way?
Yes, ma'am.
And as a result of what Josh Gowker told you about the murder of Trey Zwicker, did you talk to a homicide detective?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell the jury what Josh Gowker told you about the murder of Trey Zwicker?
It was just little bits and pieces. You know, during incarceration, some of the stuff you hear from people is, I mean, close to insanity. Just little things like he would talk about it, man. It was
Can we approach on this?
Yes, come on.
Mr. Embry, I'm going to ask you some specific questions about things that you reported that Josh Gowker told you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Do you remember telling police that the plan was that Josh Young would lure Trey down, but Josh Gowker was supposed to commit the murder?
I don't necessarily remember. It was a year ago.
Are you saying he didn't say that, or you don't remember?
I don't remember.
Do you remember telling him, Josh Gowker telling you that Josh Jr. got his swing from his old man?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember Josh Gowker telling you that they killed Trey to get even with Trey's mother for killing Gowker's child?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember Gowker telling you that it was, that both Gowker and Young were present at the murder?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Gowker specifically tell you that the motivation for the murder stemmed from Amanda's abortion? His wife's abortion of his child?
Not at first, no. That come up later.
Okay, at some point did he tell you that that was the motivation for the murder?
Yes, ma'am, so it would be even.
So they'd be even?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you all housed together?
Luther Luckman Correctional Complex in LaGrange.
And how long were you all housed together?
From September 19th, when I graduated the SAP program, to November 2nd, when I was transferred.
What is the SAP program?
It's a substance abuse counseling.
Mr. Brown, have you been given any deals with the Commonwealth in exchange for your testimony today?
No, ma'am.
Has anyone made any promises to give a good word to the parole board or to your judge?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Cross-examination.
There are things you can recall, there are things you cannot recall about what Mr. Gowker said to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's start with what you can recall.
Okay.
You can recall the motive for this crime, right?
Yeah, but at first when he started speaking about it, wasn't necessarily, he didn't open up with that, no. It did come out later.
At some point he told you his motive was this abortion.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at some point, he must have mentioned the fact that both Joshua Young and Joshua Gowker were down at this ditch when this happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what can you not recall again?
For a witness to recall what he can't recall.
And what I'm asking, yes, that is kind of ironic. What I'm asking is, the first question that you were asked, you said you didn't remember.
What was that question?
Could you not recall whether or not Joshua Gowker told you that Joshua Young was supposed to lure Trey down there?
I don't recall.
Okay, I'm just confirming that. You had contact with Joshua Gowker out at the prison, and then he wasn't around, right?
Yeah,
For a while?
He went to KCPC for close to 2 weeks or so and come back.
Can you just tell the jury what that is so that...
Objection.
Stop, come up.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge.
Redirect.
Sir, when I first asked you questions, I asked if you recalled that Josh Gauker told you that the plan was for Josh Young to lure Trey, and you said you didn't remember.
Yes, ma'am.
And I asked you if you remember Josh Gauker telling you that the plan wasn't for him for it to go as far as it did, but it did. And you don't remember that.
No, ma'am.
I have, you said you did, do you remember giving a statement or an interview with a homicide detective?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you a transcript of that, if I may approach, Your Honor.
Yes.
I'd like for you to take a minute and read to yourself this area, okay? After reading that, sir, does that refresh your memory as to the question I asked?
I mean, it does somewhat. Like I said, that was a year ago, or close to it, when the detectives were talking to me. I haven't spoken to anybody about it since.
Okay.
So,
What do you remember? You said that refreshes your memory somewhat. What do you remember about whether Gauker told you that what the plan was after reading that?
I still can't recall exact words, what was said. This was taken literally like within 30 days of me talking to the guy every day. I would be lying if I tried to give a statement saying that I recall word for word what this, the context of the conversation.
Okay. Do you dispute that that is a transcript from that interview that you gave detectives?
It definitely is.
Okay. And in that interview, did you in fact tell detectives that the plan was not for Trey to be as involved as he was, but that it went too far?
Yeah, that's what I told him.
Okay, thank you.
E.
Oh, I'm sorry, I want to be clear. I used he's, and we're talking about two men. That Josh Gauker told you the plan was not for Josh Young to be as involved as he was, but it went too far.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Recron.
No, Judge.
Questions from the jury? Nope. May we release this witness?
Yes.
Judge, are you going to put a transport order to get me back where I'm at?
Yes, sir. They will want to transport you as quickly as they can.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's take our mid-morning restroom break. Remember the admonition and be ready to come back in at 10:45, 15 minutes. All rise for the departing jury, please. I just want to make a comment about what he said to me. He turned to me and he said, "Judge, are you going to put in a transport order?" All that means is that when a witness comes from an out-in-the-state institution, we have to do paperwork to ship them back. They're housed here in the Jefferson County Jail until we're done with them. And it's their desire to go back to their state institution promptly and not sit here in the Jefferson County Jail. So that's all he asked me. Thank you.
approach to talk about something else, or do you need a break from us?
We have a break.
You guys, huh?
You need a break from us?
I feel removed when I go home at night and you're not around. Come on up.